Hey, Anderson. Hey, neighbor. Wow. Got yourself a new car, huh? Yeah, it's a Lexus. It's top of the line. Oh, I hope you don't mind. My wife's gonna tag along. No, why would I mind? How you doing, Isabella? You know, if you would sell these junk cars in your driveway, you could afford a new car too. Always a pleasure, Isabella. All right, ready to go? Yeah, let's hit it. All right, be sure and check your mirrors, dear. We don't want to hit one of these 95 cars in the driveway. All right, dear, I'm looking. Careful, dear, that was pretty close. We don't want to get any rust on our new vehicle. Try not to. I don't think you can fit a piece of paper between us and that junk car right there. Yeah, I see it. Oh my goodness, it's so nerve-wracking. Be sure to look both ways, dear. Right, nobody's coming. Babe, it's starting to rain. You want to put your wipers on. Yeah, I've got them on. Try not to go too fast because it's raining outside. I will, dear. It's got brand new tires on it. We should be good. What's the speed limit through here? You need to be going the speed limit. I'm doing 40. You got your brights on? Oh, I see brake lights. Brake lights. Yeah, there's plenty of space between us, dear. Do we have enough gas to get where we're going? Yeah, I filled up yesterday. Check your blind spot, dear, before you merge into traffic over here. I always do, sweetie. I think your turn signal's still on. Is your turn signal still on? You're gonna have to go slow on this exit, 40 miles an hour. Babe, I don't know how I would do it without you. Well, that's not how I would have done it. Oh no, he didn't. That guy just flipped you off. Are you watching where you're going? Yeah, honey, I'm paying attention. Sweetheart, you're gonna have to slow down around these curves. I'm about to puke back here. That car behind us is like tailgating us, dear. Are you going fast enough? Don't get too close to the guy in front of us, dear. You gotta leave some space in case he slams on his brakes. How fast are you going? You remember that dealer told us not to go over 55 because of that braking period. You know, this is a new car, dear. You want to be easy on the brakes. Is your turn signal still on? Careful, sweetie, because this neighborhood's got a lot of kids in it. Well, I tell you, we would just ruin somebody's Christmas if we hit their kid. You know, I don't think I'd ever buy a Lexus. Oh, really? Why not? Because it takes two to drive it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Daynator channel and another episode of Thrillbilly's Project Poorvette. In today's episode, Thrillbilly's going to be going after some electrical gremlins and trying to figure out why some of the components of his vehicle are not working. Will buying new parts fix the problem? You're about to find out. Enjoy the video. What's up, everybody? Thrillbilly here, back in the garage. I'm running into a little bit of an issue with the car. It's running a lot better since the day that I brought it home, but the car is running rich. I checked the dipstick and I could definitely smell gas on the dipstick. It's in the oil, so I'm getting too much fuel. So anyway, to try to diagnose why it's running rich, I tried to do the hack where you bridge the A and B ports on your OBD1 connector to try to get my check engine light to flash codes or whatever. When I put the key in the ignition and turn it on, I know that it's going into test mode because it's running the radiator fan. I don't know if that's supposed to happen or not, but it tells me something's going on. But no check engine light flashes, nothing. The little information board doesn't show up. And come to think of it, anytime I've ever gotten in the car and turned the key in the on position, none of the lights light up on that information panel, such as seatbelt, check engine light, door jar light, whatever, nothing. So I took the center console pieces apart again and I got the information panel off. And I actually managed to peel off the printed circuit board off the back of the thing. It's kind of crusty. It's probably not bad. I went ahead and bought a new one anyway. So today I'm going to put in the new one, and I've already been through the fuse box at least twice, and I know all my fuses are good, so all the circuits are in good shape, or should be. I did have Mickey Mouse and friends behind the dashboard. Maybe a mouse is chewed through a wire or something, and it's causing the information panel not to light up. Obviously, I took this one off already, and I'm going to replace it with my new one and see if it works. A little rainy today. So I've got all the bulbs in there. I'm gonna go ahead and trace some of these wires back there just to see if I've got any issues. There's my new one. Got this from C4 Corvette online, $24 or something like that before shipping and handling. All right, so there's two wiring harnesses that come into this information cluster. Now, when I'm driving the car and I flip these little switches here on the left, it does the thing over there on the dashboard like it's supposed to. This side is working. However, this other harness plugged into the back, that's what actually touches the teeth of this printed circuit. Took it all apart just to see if maybe the bulbs are bad. Bulbs are fine. It seems like it's a little bit longer. Is it? It's the same size. Let's go ahead and put my bulbs back in. Now, if that circuit board was the problem, emphasis on the word if, this should light up the warning lights. Hoping for the best, but I'm not counting on it. Here we go. All right, no lights. So my circuit board was not the problem. It's one of those things where, you know, you're just throwing money at it to see if you can figure it out. The reason why I decided to go for a new one, the lamination was coming off on it. And I thought, well, maybe it's just because it's getting corroded or something. Maybe that's a problem. Not the issue. So perhaps it's this wiring harness. I don't think this is directional. It can only go in one way. It's keyed. All the connections look good. All right, time to dig a little deeper. So when I took this front cover off, you can see my light bulbs back there. Turning my light bulbs on, my headlamps on, these are definitely not lighting up. So harness here is not getting power to my circuit board. I'm gonna try to figure out which one's the power and the ground, and I'm gonna get my test light on it and see if I can figure out what's going on here. All right. So it got a little crazy. I've given up on this for right now, and I got back to working on my heating and air control system. It wouldn't change vent to defrost to footwell. It was just basically neutral, everything blowing out of every little orifice, and that was it. Not very well. Well, I managed to fix it, I think. So right now, I believe it's coming out of my upper vent. My flapper door is finally working. So even though I haven't fixed my instrument panel here, I got that, and that is absolutely fantastic. When I would drive this thing, I would basically sweat to death because I had no real air moving around. And if I drove during a cool morning, then this would fog over and I had no way of getting it undone because this was not working. Basically what I did wrong was this splice here. I actually had this one going into this little one, and I undid it from that one and I plugged it into this one, and now it's working. I don't know if these two are supposed to be in the same trunk line here or not, but it's working, and praise the Lord. I'm gonna shut this off. Thank goodness that's functioning again. I don't know if this is supposed to splice as a T into this main trunk for this bottom portion. Seems to me like it fits into this port right here, and when I'm on full cold, it shuts it off, but as soon as I move it out of cold, it opens it. So maybe it has something to do with the air conditioning. I'm not sure. Oh, and when I put that kick panel back up underneath here, I guess it's binding up so tightly that I can no longer move my slider. I can now because it's unhooked, but as soon as I put that rod back on here, it gets about right here and stops, and I can't switch it. So I'm gonna have to take that kick panel down and figure out why that's binding. I'm gonna keep digging, try to figure out why this isn't working. Back in the bed again, and I'm looking at the wiring harness and my vet manual. I'm finding long story short, I don't have a ground for my security system. So I've got power at my security system, so you can see the pink wire here lights up. That tells me that there's constant power for my security. This green wire coming into number 5 here isn't grounding. So I turn my instrument panel light on, and this gray wire coming to this side here, and this gray wire on this side, so number 1 and 9 listed on the plastic here, they light up. That's telling me there's power getting to just the instrument panel lights, not the warning lights, just the lights that illuminate the cluster. I've got my probe light grounded to the body. Now what I'm going to do is put it into my black wire here with number 2, because that's the ground. If I touch the power, it should complete the ground circuit, and the light comes on. And it's lighting up because it's completing the circuit going through the ground wire. I could do the same thing on this side. It lights up. Now, Before, when I had this on the body ground of the car and I just touched it, this would light up because it's constant power source for my security system. Now, if I touch the lead into the ground wire, which is the green one, and I touch my power wire, I'm not getting any lights. So this tells me that my ground is not happening. So according to my repair manual that I got, this green wire goes to the theft security control module or system or something. It goes to a location behind my instrument panel. I'm gonna have to take this instrument panel out and try to find the security system, and it says it's a solid state, so there's really probably not anything I can do about it. This may all just be a moot point. I believe this car even has an aftermarket alarm system on it. So this whole thing I may just be chasing my tail here, because this whole thing may just be screwed up because of the aftermarket security system that no longer functions. I think the yellow was the seat belt, the pink is the security system, the green is the ground for that security system, the gray on the outside of these is the courtesy light, and the blacks are the grounds. Number 10, I think, was rear hatch ajar light. Brown and white one here, that's the check engine light one. When I put the key in the run position, I'm not getting any of my security lights, check engine lights, or anything to show up on my tester lead light bulb here. I'm gonna chase down this green wire right here and see what could be a problem for a ground. Perhaps, maybe it's chewed through by a mouse, I don't know. Alright, so I'm back out in the vet. I have been spending the last 2 or 3 hours looking at all the schematics and figuring out why my telltale panel is not lighting up. I'm trying to find if I got a bad ground. I've already determined that I didn't, I thought. I checked all the bulbs. The bulbs looked good. They weren't. The little sockets were not good either. These little socket things that the bulbs go into. Took some sandpaper, cleaned the connections, all the contact points, and then I tested each bulb to make sure they work. Now it works. My security light is now on. And when I turn the key into the run position, my door ajar light comes on. I've got my little jumper wire into the diagnostic port. When I turn the key on, it goes into troubleshooting mode, and you're gonna hear a horrible noise when I turn the key. Don't pay too much attention to that. It's my radiator fan. It's got its death howl going, so pay no attention to that. But I now have my check engine light, and it's flashing when I go in the diagnostic mode, which is great because I need to find out why my car is running rich. Back in the vet, got the check engine light to finally blink, got the other lights to turn on. I did replace this relay. This is the horn relay. My horn currently doesn't work. When I press the horn, I get a relay click, which is great. I wasn't really getting much of that. I was getting a real weak sounding click. So one step closer to getting my horns to work. I gotta get underneath the hood and figure out what's going on with the actual horns themselves. Clean up the contacts maybe, since that seems to be a recurring theme with this car. You know, you get a little rusty and crusty too when you get this old. I gotta figure out a system to get my ECU back up underneath the dash. It's a little bit of a rat's nest underneath there. This thing's been in and out so many times. There is a retaining clip that is missing that holds that ECM up underneath the dash. So I'm gonna have to come up with a way to fix that. I was able to free this up before, and now it's locked up tighter than Alcatraz again. So I thought it was because I had my kick panel up there and thought something may have been impeding it, but it's all down now and there's nothing impeding it, and it's just not working. I need to get all this stuff put back together. All right, so back at it again. I installed the new windshield wiper motor, and when I go to turn it on, it works, it turns on. However, it doesn't turn off. So got to thinking that it's probably the switch on the door panel, and was able to source a new switch. Not cheap, but I did find the cheapest one that I could find. The other things I need to do in this car are replace the radiator fan motor, because it's got the squeal of death. I've already put on a new throttle position sensor, however I have to calibrate it. And then I also got a idle air control valve. It just makes sense to just go ahead and put new parts on it that I know are new and work my way through it that way. Sure, I could go through and diagnose, is the idle air control valve actually bad? I don't know. I could probably test it, but anyway, let's get to it. So I'm going to unbolt the fan motor assembly from the fan shroud and try to pull this out, which means I gotta take this upper induct tube out of the way so I can get at everything. This, as you can see, has a little bit of a shoulder to it, whereas this one does not, which means it's not letting the fan shroud seat all the way down. It's not leaving me with any thread. It's always something. Great. So I just drilled out my center hub a little wider, and I got a washer, but now it fits. She's on there. All right, next thing to do is I want to replace the idle air control valve. I've already done the throttle position sensor, but it's not a part that you can just swap and be done. You actually have to adjust it. So you gotta back these nuts out, and then it's gotta be adjusted to this. And then I gotta probe these wires and get a certain voltage reading. One of my other things is I'm gonna be removing all this smog stuff. That's all gonna go away. Two 10mm screws holding this little thing on. No hose clamps on my application here. I just pulled everything out of these tubes. There's a vacuum line that was going into there, so I just unplugged that. Now I'm working on getting some of this bracketry out of the way so I can get at this little guy right there, which is my idle air control valve. Removing the unnecessary here. Vacuum line that goes off of the intake. Anyway, just gonna keep following hoses and tubes here and taking off stuff that led to my smog pump or is leading to my air tubes for my catalytic converter. One thing you want to make sure, whatever vacuum lines you take off, plug them so you don't create a vacuum leak for your system. Got the throttle body off because I replaced the idle air control valve. I was taking off all the smog equipment, and there was this crossover pipe going from this end to that end. That would have just stayed in there and rattled. It would have been a problem. So I had to take the belt tensioner off. I had to take the air conditioner compressor off. And GM, in all their wisdom, put this bracket underneath the fuel line. So in order to get that pipe out, I actually had to move this bracket away from the block. And in order to do that, I had to take the fuel lines off. That was fun, dousing myself with gallons of fuel, praying that I didn't catch fire. So anyway, I've got all this smog pipes and stuff off the front of the engine now. Trying to get my throttle body put back together, and of course I spilled coolant and fuel, and it's been fun. I cleaned the MAPS sensor, which is sitting over there, so time to button it back up. This was that crossover pipe that I was telling you about. Went to this little down tube there for the catalytic converter, and these just hooked into the little manifolds there where the smog pump was feeding. There's even this down pipe at the front of the water pump there on these two little nuts right there. Looks like it's just a vent tube or something. The vacuum line that fed the two little manifolds here, those two little boxes, fed underneath the plenum here and went to this on the intake plenum and then the fuel pressure regulator hat. Well, since this one went to the fuel pressure regulator and this one went to plenum, but since these aren't being used anymore, I just jumped it straight from the fuel pressure regulator straight up to my intake plenum. So now this one is obsoleted. I'm gonna hang on to that hose. It's still in good shape, so if I need to splice any repairs, I'll have it. These two wiring connectors were for the two little boxes that stood here in the front. That's my mass airflow sensor that goes right there. And here's my throttle position sensor. Now, what I've got to do, it said that pin in there can't be longer than 28 millimeters or 1 1/8, and it was just shy of 1 inch, so I was able to just take it out of the box and put it in. So I'm hoping that my engine running rich problem has been solved. Hoping for it, not counting on it. I did notice when I had the belt tensioner off, this pulley right here is making some noise, so that's going to have to be replaced. I'm going to test it on my battery here, positive and negative. I should have 12 volts or close to it, 11.82. So that tells me I've got the right settings on my voltmeter. Got my manual here, it tells me that I need 0.54 volts plus or minus 0.075 volts. I've got jumpers plugged into the back of terminals A and B. So with the ignition on, use digital voltmeter connected to terminals A and B. I have the key in the on position. I want to see this go to 0.54, and I've got both of these screws pulled back, and right now I'm reading 0.03, and I'm gonna just kind of move this around until I can get the value to change here. This is acting on this lever right here. See, as I move it, it changes my values. So wherever the position of the throttle is, sends the resistance reading and the voltage reading back to the computer. I'm on the wire that goes back to the computer, which is terminal B, the blue wire. I got the other lead grounded to the body. Need to get this to go as 0.54. Then once I get there, I can tighten her down. Right on the money. So that should be ready to fire. And also, when you open the throttle, it should climb to about 5 volts at full throttle. So I'm at 4.35 and I can't open this any further. Back to 5.4, so that's good. All right, so next day, back at it. I was able to get the oil changed last night. She's running pretty good now. A lot of the hesitation that I had in the engine is gone. The idle is really smoothed out, and stopping at a stop sign with the car in gear, it would surge and kind of want to stall on me. It's not doing that anymore, which is fantastic. Kind of touching back to this whole smog system that I removed. Got an exhaust leak, obviously. Check valve, but it's a check valve in that direction. So as it's blowing exhaust out of the exhaust manifold, it's going this way, pretty much filling the engine compartment, which is not good. So I got these metal caps. So I'm gonna take the check valve off and thread this onto the end. This is a 1/2 inch. There's 3. There's one on that side, one on this side, and then there's this one that goes down in the catalytic converter. If I ever get around to it, I might just take those air tubes off altogether. The check valve that was down there that went to the catalytic converter, there she is. Zipped her off with my Sawzall and just pinched off the line. That should do it. So that completes the smog delete for the 85 Corvette. All right, back at the Project Poorvette, and as you remember from the previous episode, the wipers now work, but they do not shut off. So I'm gonna go after the wiper switch in the door panel, which means I have to take the door panel off to get to it. From what I can understand, it looks like just a perimeter of screws around the outside, a couple of screws holding this bezel in, and then should pop right off. All right, so I wish I could say that was easy, but these screws down here got kind of rusty and took some carpet with it. And everything is more brittle than Bob Barker. This has been off a couple times. You can tell by the wonderful caulking job that was done. While I'm in here, I'm going to replace the power door lock switch because they were all broken and nasty looking. Here's the control harness for the wiper control. This was for the little dome light thing, and this is for the trunk release. I really do want to get in this door to replace the power window regulator. That's for another day. So here's my windshield wiper switch, 7mm, and then one over here, but this one's broken, so great. I need to find out what kind of bulb is in here. These things get so hot. I might just switch it out for an LED. Got my new switch. I got this off of eBay. Before I put all this back together, I'm just gonna go ahead and plug it in right now and see if it works. I'm not counting on it though. All right, I learned my lesson from my information panel to go ahead and clean all the contacts off these old harnesses. So I went through with some sandpaper and scuffed up all the copper, make it clean. It's in the run position now. Let's see if I can get some windshield wiper action going on here. Switching on. It's on delay. Switching it to all the different speeds, and it's not changing any speeds. Just turned it to off. It's in the off position and they're still going. So that was a waste of money. All right, so it's probably the circuit board on the wiper. That's gonna be a lot harder to find. Well, that's it for now. I'm gonna put this all back together and go cry in a corner. I guess I can kind of end this on a positive note. I was able to replace my door lock switch, and now I have, at least it's moving. Whether it's actually locking it or not, I don't really know. That's really tight. So I don't know if I need to try to lubricate something in here, because it's tighter than my wallet. Anyway, that's positive. Back on the underside of my engine compartment here, got two AC Delco products I'm going to be replacing today. Got a belt tensioner pulley. I decided to go ahead and get an AC Delco replacement horn. These were relatively cheap, so I just went ahead and bought one. I think there's two horns. There's one on the other side. I just bought one. It's just right down here next to the headlight bucket. New pulley is installed.
Still have a little bit of noise in the front. It's way better than it was before, so that's good.
It's like a 13mm bolt holding this bracket to the frame rail, but a 10mm not actually holding the horn on. Wire that goes to ground, and I guess wire that's like the power supply. All right, after some bending of my bracket, you want to make sure this is as tight as you can possibly get it in here for longevity's sake, but it's in. Let's see if I have a horn. Just about everything else in this project, the last couple attempts here, what I thought would fix it wouldn't, so I don't have high hopes that this is going to work either, so here we go. It worked.